actually what you're giving up on is your ego and your sense of control. That's really what a relationship is.
You mentioned marriage and love and relationships. I've got to get into that domain with you. There's a lot of, again, brotherly questions I want to ask you.
Yeah,
Before we
please,
get to
man.
the marriage questions, I've got to ask you pre-marriage questions. Do you believe that men and women have different thought processes or different ways of perceiving the world?
I believe that there are definitely masculine and feminine energy, and you may find both in both men and women. So it's not necessarily that all men think the same and all women think the same, but I believe there are more masculine energies and thoughts and more feminine energies and thoughts, and we all have a mix of all of them. But I do think that we think about things differently. Yeah, for sure. I think psychology is far more individual than we try and think it is.
Yeah, I think, and meditation kind of balances you out in terms of if you have too much of a masculine thought process, it'll give you that feminine perspective and vice versa. And that's been an experience I've had. I think I just developed things like empathy, compassion, endurance, love, emotional expression, all these very feminine aspects of thought later after I started meditation. And before that, I had like much more masculine kind of thoughts, which are also great. Bravery, determination, just strength, going for it, like taking risks. But you'll only be able to live a balanced life when you balance out those two energies inside you.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. Do you kind of agree with that?
I agree with trying to find both of them inside of us for sure. Like I think they have such powerful uses at different times. And actually, when you notice them inside yourself, you start to appreciate other people more.
Yep,
I think we all grew up in this mindset, this negative mindset of like, stop being a girl. People would say things like that, like stop being so soft. And there's a mistake there, because when you say that, you're now not noticing the value of that quality. And so when you notice both in yourself, you start to celebrate that outwardly as well.
The question about marriage is, as a man, what do you have to do for your wife? Like, what do you have to change about yourself? And I know it's a very broad question, so I'm asking you everything from, do you have to give up on some of your own space? I'm sure you have to give it time, you have to give it energy. But what are those things that you only realize as a guy after you're married?
So the first thing I'd say is, and I talk about this often, that there are 4 important decisions you make in life. And so anyone who's listening or watching right now, when you're making any of these decisions, don't rush them, don't do them out of pressure, and don't do them quickly. Like, really think about them. So the first one is how you feel about yourself. That is one of the biggest decisions you make, is how you feel about your own self. The second most important decision you make is what you do for money. The third most important decision you make is who you give your love to and who gives you love. So this question that we're talking about. And the fourth one is how you serve the world. These are not decisions that should be made out of any other reason apart from personal contemplation. So the first thing I'd say is, when you like someone, that's the time to really think about it. So let's go right to the beginning of it, right? It's like, don't wait till marriage to figure out what you're going to have to change, because maybe then you'll have to change something you don't want to change. So when I met my wife, Radhi Devlukia Shetty, if anyone follows her on Instagram, then you know
I follow on Instagram. I love her content.
She's amazing. She's the best. And so when me and her met, we actually met before I became a monk. When we weren't dating, I just knew her. And then we've been together now for 7 years and married for 4 years. So we've spent a bit of time together in our life. And when we first met and we were attracted to each other and we liked each other, I was really honest with her about who I was and what was important to me in life. And this is the first step. If you don't know who you are and what's really important to you in life, then you will never know who's right for you, and no one can ever know if they're right for you either. And so I was really honest. I said to her, my purpose, even though at that time I wasn't a content creator, I said, my purpose is to serve people. I want to teach. I want to share. I want to focus on developing this part of my life. And this is my number one priority in life. And she said to me that her number one priority was her family, her parents, her sister, she loves her mom and dad and her grandmother. And she was like, that's her heart in life. And I said, I promise you that I will always help you get closer to them. And you promise me that you'll always help me get closer to this. And so it was a really honest conversation. Now, that doesn't mean that it's been easy, but it means that we had a direction from the beginning. So now, if I had a priority with my purpose that was coming up and I couldn't go to her family event, she respected that and supported me. And if I had a big event and she couldn't come with me because she had family stuff, then I respected her and loved her, because the goal of the relationship was get her closer to her goal and she helps me get closer to my goal. Not that we trade our goals and just work on each other. And so actually what you're giving up on is your ego and your sense of control. That's really what a relationship is. Because the ego says, well, she's my wife, she should come with me to this event and see me on stage and me giving these lectures and blah, blah, blah. But that's not true. The truth is, if I love her, I should be helping her get closer to what she matters to her. And same with her, she would support me. So really what you're giving up is that sense of proprietorship, that sense of ego and control. Because love means understanding the person's goal in love. So to me, that's what really has been the guiding force of our marriage. And that may change also. So I check in with Radhi and she'll check in with me. Like my goal has pretty much stayed the same. But if hers changes or evolves, I have to change and evolve with that if I love her. That's the point. And then obviously there are day-to-day things like space and all of that kind of stuff. But again, if you have a very clear guiding light, if you have a very clear direction, all of these things kind of just work themselves out. And those are the things, again, you have to discuss. Like I always said to Radhi that I'm a terrible cook. You don't even want me to try and cook. Like I'm just terrible. Like that's not my strength. It's not my skill. And that was just me being honest with her. That doesn't mean I wouldn't if she wanted me to, but because that's her passion. That's her purpose and her passion. So she's happy to do that. And so I think it's really important in a relationship, beginning or middle or wherever you are, to just be honest about who you are and what you want, and that person to be honest about who they are and what they want. And remember, you're just trying to help them get closer to their goal. It's not about you compromising, because what ends up happening in relationships is both the man and the woman, or the man and the man, or the woman and the woman, everyone compromises. And when you compromise, then you always feel in your heart like, oh, because of them, I gave up what was important to me. And that doesn't build a loving relationship.
Yeah, 100%. Correct me if I'm wrong, and this is something that someone once told me, and I'm still coming to terms with it, and I don't know if it's an actual thing. But is it true that your growth rate needs to match as a partnership? Because, I mean, dude, honestly, the blessing and the curse of a content creation career is that behind the scenes, you've got to keep studying, you've got to keep growing, you've got to keep adding things to your own mind. So it puts you in this very weird position of you have created your own championship belt, and to earn it every day, you have to live up to it. Now, that puts a lot of load on your relationship and your partner in terms of, okay, keep up with me. So what do you think of this whole growth rate theory?
Yeah. So I've found, or I've noticed, and I was thinking about this a couple of years ago, that I've seen 3 types of relationship. So one is where you are the parent to your partner. So it's almost like you're like their dad or their mom. So they need hand-holding, they need support, they need you to guide them and show them the way. And you have to decide, is that something you want in life? The second type of relationship I've seen is where you are the child. So actually you need the parenting. You need someone to guide you, right? So that's another type of relationship. And the third type of relationship I've seen is where you're partners, where you're both equally balancing out the parental and the child aspect, and you both support each other. The point is, which one do you want? I want the third one. So that's thankfully what I have, is that Radhi carries me and I carry her, and we support each other and we balance each other out. But some people want to be the parent, the nurturer, the supporter, the provider. And some people want to be the child. And we have to ask ourselves, which one of these is sustainable for us? And the truth is that being a child is not a sustainable relationship, because eventually someone will get tired and bored of you and will feel overwhelmed and just exhausted taking care of you. And also you may find that you get exhausted taking care of someone else. So I believe that trying to find a partnership where you both carry and both serve and support gives for more sustainability. And that also requires more work. Like me and Radhi haven't figured it all out. We've had to have so many tough conversations over the last few years and communicate about expectations. And we also have to realize that people are growing in different ways at different times. So when I met Radhi, I was more spiritual. And today I would say that Radhi has far superseded me in so much of my own spirituality. And she teaches me. And so the point is that you have to recognize, as long as that person is growing, their growth may not look like your growth. Their growth may not be the same. So for example, your growth and my growth maybe look like studying books, but their growth may be doing charity work. And so everyone's growth looks different. So you can't judge someone's growth based on how you're growing. And so it's important that you're both growing, but you may look very different when you're growing.
Got it.
Here are 3 signs you're struggling with a lack of purpose. Number 1, you feel pressure to know what you want to do with your life. Number 2, you've lost interest in your own life and feel disconnected. Number 3, you don't know what your skills are or you feel you lack them. Hope is not lost. You can get through this. Having purpose and meaning in our lives helps guide us through the ups and downs and create structure in our day-to-day life. That's why I've partnered with Calm, the leading app for mental health and wellness. The app has a library with thousands of meditations, songs to help you relax and focus, and sleep stories to help you get a good night's rest. And now you can find the Daily J, a daily series where I'm sharing proven tools and techniques to improve your mindset and mental health in a matter of minutes.